Imagine putting your newborn to bed, turning on the baby monitor, and walking into the next room. A few minutes later, you glance at the screen, and freeze. Instead of your own baby, you're looking at a completely different child. He's painfully thin, terrified, and barely moving. At first, you assume the monitor picked up a neighbor's signal. Older baby monitors did that sometimes. But the longer you watch, the more obvious it becomes. This isn't a glitch. Somewhere nearby, a child is in serious danger. What that father didn't know was that he had just witnessed the beginning of one of the most disturbing criminal cases in Czech history. A random signal intercepted by a baby monitor would expose a nightmare hidden behind the walls of an ordinary suburban home. This is the story of a family consumed by manipulation, a secretive cult, shocking deception, and a woman who convinced everyone she was a helpless little girl. On May 10, 2007, in the quiet Czech town of Kuřim near Brno, life seemed completely ordinary. Nothing about the neighborhood suggested that one of Europe's most bizarre criminal cases was unfolding just a few houses away. The home belonged to Klara MAUEROVA, a single mother raising her two young sons, Jakub and Andrei. Neighbors described her as educated, kind, and devoted to her children. She had a background in education and appeared to be an attentive mother. But behind closed doors, everything was different. Over time, those closest to Klara noticed a dramatic change in her behavior. She became increasingly influenced by her younger sister, Katrina. The two women immersed themselves in a secretive religious movement that investigators would later describe as having cult-like characteristics. Friends said their beliefs became more extreme, and their entire worldview slowly shifted. Then, another child entered their lives. A quiet 13-year-old girl named Aneska. She claimed she had escaped a human trafficking ring in Norway and desperately needed protection. She appeared frail, withdrawn, and constantly in need of care. Klara felt sorry for her and eventually welcomed her into the family as if she were her own daughter. But investigators would later discover that nearly everything Aneska had said was a lie. At the time, no one suspected a thing. As the months passed, Klara's attention drifted away from her own sons and focused almost entirely on Aneska. Around the same time, mysterious text messages began arriving on her phone from someone claiming to be a doctor. The sender insisted the boys were dangerous and needed severe discipline before it was too late. What started as strange advice gradually became more disturbing, yet Klara continued following the instructions. Detectives later concluded that she had fallen under the psychological control of people around her. The discipline soon escalated into complete isolation. According to court records, the boys were confined for long periods, cut off from normal human contact, and subjected to degrading treatment. Investigators later admitted that many details of what happened inside that house were so disturbing, they chose not to release them publicly out of respect for the victims. But the worst was still to come. Eventually, the children were taken to a secluded cabin in the woods, where several adults gathered. Prosecutors argued that this was where the abuse became systematic, driven by a twisted belief that extreme suffering was somehow justified. Years later, one detective admitted it was among the most disturbing investigations of his entire career, because it combined cult influence, psychological manipulation, and a shocking lack of empathy for innocent children. Months later, the boys were brought back home. But the nightmare didn't end. They were kept hidden in the basement, constantly watched through a baby monitor. Ironically, the very camera meant to control them would become the key piece of evidence that exposed everything. On that evening, a neighbor accidentally intercepted the monitor's signal. Horrified by what he saw, he immediately called the police. Officers began searching nearby homes to locate the source of the transmission. When they reached Clara's house, the women inside refused to answer the door. That decision sealed their fate. Firefighters were called in to force entry. Inside, officers discovered 2 severely neglected boys and a house filled with unanswered questions. But the biggest shock of the entire investigation was still waiting for them. The girl everyone knew as 13-year-old Aneska didn't actually exist. Her true identity would completely change the direction of the case and reveal a deception that no one saw coming.